it! I ship it!
One of the most competitive e-card tournaments, possibly most competitive dance game tournaments ever. Yeah!
Yes! Yes!
Among other things, this is the first time Japanese players have come to America to play in a DDR tournament.
Yes!
This tournament had 7 countries represented, plus Puerto Rico, which is the most of any tournament anywhere. At our peak, we had 900 viewers on the stream. Oh my God. Double the previous best. Setting up this tournament took a lot. It took a lot out of it. There were a lot of things that a lot of you saw that were pretty stressful. But I was never going to quit. And as long as I could find a way forward, I was going to make this happen. And every single person here and all of those 900 people owes an immense debt of gratitude to Luke Swagman and to Red Note Gaming.
Look at the magic we created, the memories that we will cherish for years to come. Like, this is why we do this, you know? We are family, we have to continue the sport, continue the tradition. I'm so proud of everyone for being gracious in victory and defeat. And it's just like, this is it, you know? This is the magic, this is why we continue this sport, you know? Cheers to you all. We also owe an immense debt of gratitude to the Denver Round 1 for allowing us to fall back here, for allowing us to pretty much commandeer a large portion of the store for the majority of the week, for allowing us to stay past closing, and for being incredibly welcoming guests, hosts. Every single person that did commentary, every single person that helped run matches, every single person that ran and got batteries, or cough syrup, or not cough syrup, cough drops, or masks, or COVID tests this morning. You all made this happen. I could not have done this without you. Getting back to the hotel is going to be a huge pain in the ass. Let's work together to get it done.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Good job.
I want everybody in this room to give an enormous round of applause and cheer at the top of your lungs for ranatalus. Yeah! I know you do not like it when at the end of an event I get up here and I have the crowd cheer for you, but god damn it, you deserve it!
All right. Hi, all y'all. Lastly, number one, yes, I still have a voice.
Good ass
I want to. You hate this. I don't give a shit. Stream's off. Spicy Adrian is here.
Ah.
So first of all, ranatalus, not only for not only organizing this event, but bringing together some of the hardest working people, whether they are part of the staff, whether they are volunteers. Everyone stepped up to the plate, and honestly, this wouldn't happen. We wouldn't be here. Ranatalus is one of the faces of the DDR community. Is basically the reason why Ohio DDR still exists to this day. I don't care what you say. I said, I wasn't going to cry more than 7 This is my second time. Ranatalus, I love you. You are one of my best friends on the planet. You are the reason why all of us have had the opportunity to travel across the country in the name of some good-ass DDR, and for that, I am eternally grateful for you. Now, in conclusion, let's work together to get back to our respective hotels. Thank you, all of you, for coming by this entire week, making this happen. Please get home safe.
Hey there, everybody. It's weird to now be on this side of the camera and in front of the microphone to talk to you guys. And it's kind of weird watching those speeches again. So obviously, that was a pretty abrupt end for anybody who was watching the stream and who wasn't there in person. So I did want to kind of review what happened at the end of the event and also go over some of the feedback and questions that were asked at the end of the stream, or in the feedback form that we posted. My voice good? Everybody can hear me just fine? Yeah, cool Ohio DDR merchandise, huh? Okay, good. Glad to know I sound great. So, for the people who weren't there, what I'm sure everybody wants to know is what happened at the end. So, near the end of the stream, you kind of see Nate going to stretch his calves, and he goes down. He had a massive calf cramp come up right after he had gone 2 songs up in the first set of grand finals. Squid and some other people tried to massage it out for him, and he was able to stand up again, but we weren't sure if he was going to be able to play. At first he did want to. Nate wanted to go up and continue and try to play again. And Adrian and I talked to him and basically told him, I know you want to, but you need to be really honest with yourself. Can you? Do you think you can get through 1 more song to maybe win this match? Do you think you can maybe get through 3 more songs to win this match? Or 6 more to win the set? Or potentially as many as 8 more to win the tournament? Or even lose the tournament after 8 more? And as hard as it was for him, he made the responsible decision and told me and Adrian, no, I can't continue. I can't finish. After that, I went over to Mark and told him that. Told him, Nate says he can't continue. What do you want to do? Because that means Nate is forfeiting. Nate is giving up. And it's up to Mark to how to handle that. I didn't tell him what I thought he should do. I didn't tell him what his choices were. I simply told him, what do you want to do? And Mark said, can we split first? And I said, as long as that is what you want to do, then yes, we can split first. It wasn't even Dave that he agreed to it. He suggested it. I didn't bring it up. I didn't suggest it to him. That was Mark's own idea, and Mark was the one that pushed for it. About 20 seconds after that decision, the power cut out. So, many arcades, Dave & Buster's, Round 1, GameWorks back in the day, and many other businesses have automated time shutoffs for their power. We worked with the local Round 1 to set up the override so that it would not automatically turn off at 2. At 2:01, power was still on, and we determined, great, awesome. We get to continue if this is going to continue. And then at 2:02, we discovered that the override did not actually work. So at 2:02 a.m., the power to the whole arcade was cut. In a way, it's fortunate that Nate had that cramp, because if he hadn't had that cramp, we probably would have gotten through one more song. Maybe he wins the set and resets the bracket. And then what do we do? So, in a way, much like many other things that weekend, it just felt scripted. You know, it felt like it was planned. It felt like there was no fighting it. It was going to work out the way that it worked out. All right, so on to some of the questions from the feedback form. The most popular question, by far, in some form or another, was, will you run a tournament like this again? And I thought for a little bit of time about how I'd want to phrase this response. And what I came up with was, I would love to, but it's very unlikely. This tournament was very expensive to run. I'm not going to hide from that. And without the strong sponsorship backing that we had from Luke Swagman and Red Note Gaming and some other people and my own wallet, it wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have even come close. Some people have brought up the idea of community crowdfunding or, smaller backings, and that would be great, but I am very skeptical that it would be anywhere near enough. If it were to be run in the future, if the stars align and this can happen again, then it would likely retain the Upbeat name. It would probably have very similar format. Maybe I'd make it a little bit lower than 48, just in the interest of time and the interest of some other costs. But again, unless multiple people want to drop 5 figures, I would say don't plan on it. Jazz, the hotels were only about a third of the total costs. So yeah, if I let people cover their own hotels, that helps a lot, but it's still not all the way there. It's not even halfway there. So the second most asked thing in one form and another was, why did you sign up to work with a crypto org? Why did you break from them? And how were you going to be on eAmusement if you had been there? And it kind of goes back to the first thing, it's funding. The original offer from the crypto org was to cover the reimbursement for overseas players. All overseas players got some money refunded to them in exchange for their flight costs, since it was so expensive. And they were going to cover all the hotels. That's pretty significant. And at the time was the only way that I could see to make an event like this happen. The reasons for that support being withdrawn, there's a few of them. One of them being the FTX crash and all of the other problems that have been going on within the crypto space over the last 6 months-ish. Another big part of it was that there was a communication breakdown between who I was originally speaking with and the directors at that conference, where basically those core decision makers weren't aware of what's going on and weren't aware of what had been promised. To their credit, and I know nobody wants to hear any credit for them, to the board of directors' credit for ETH Denver, once they became aware of that communication breakdown, once they knew what had been promised to me and was not being delivered, they basically dropped everything for 2 weeks to try to make it work. And this was at the end of January, when they also are right up against the deadline and they're trying very hard to get everything in a row for their own event. They dropped everything. They connected me with all the individual people I needed to be connected with to try to make it happen in some way. And really what it came down to is it was just too close. It was just too down to the wire. I couldn't be spending the time and effort to be planning this event at 2 locations at once with 4 weeks to go. And especially knowing that I was going to lose a week going on the True Blue cruise, I basically had 2 or 3 weeks and made the decision that I just had to cut and go to round 1 as a backup, which was always our backup plan. From day 1, we had vague plans in place to hold this at the round 1 in Denver, just in case anything came apart. As we got closer to the event and started noticing cracks in the plan, we started firming up those plans more and more. Another one of the big reasons why I considered it in the first place is, again, going back to that funding, is it was an opportunity to get eyeballs on this. You know, to get people to see this level of, you know, this caliber of competition, this type of event. Getting all these people who are already into digital media, who might have deep pockets, who might be looking for esports alternatives or something else to fund as, you know, a way forward for them or a way to put their name out there, seemed like a good opportunity and one worth taking. Obviously, if I knew what I knew now, I would never have started those conversations. But also, if I knew what I knew now, I probably wouldn't have tried to do this. So, yeah, give and take. As for how we were going to have an e-amusement-enabled machine at ETH Denver, I can't really go into the specifics, but we were in the process of firming up those final plans, including what it was going to cost, including transportation, ensuring the hardware that we were being given, and also paying for a staff member to be there at all times for the organization that was going to be providing it. I will say I called in a whole lot of favors to try to make that happen, and I'm not confident I could make it happen again. No, Dave, this was going to be a US machine on the US network. Like, this was going to be on the up and up. But kind of going back to the last minute changes, another question was, why was communication so sparse? Before the event, with all these things I was dealing with the crypto conference, there wasn't a lot of concrete details that I could relate to people. There weren't a lot of things that were set in stone during the planning period that I was comfortable putting out there. And I would much rather have there be very little information than have to constantly issue corrections. Additionally, like, there were contractual reasons why some people didn't want their name out there. Some of the people who provided funding made it very, very clear that they do not want anyone but me knowing that they are contributing, partially because they don't want to be hit up for money in other tournaments in the future. Makes sense. And then during the event, social media updates were intended. I wanted to have them going on all the time, but the reality is every single tournament you have this lofty goal that you want to search for. You have this idea of the perfect execution that you want to make happen. And it never happens. But you should always aim high, because once you aim high, you can scale back. You can cut out little things that aren't mission critical, like social media updates, like having the machine streamed around in the round 1. Those are things that are nice, but they're not critical to making the event happen. They're not critical to making the tournament run well. This is definitely a thing that always ends up on the chopping block for me, and it's always something I want to do better. It's just, you know, I'm extremely particular about who I work with. I know that I'm a perfectionist in these things, but I also know that no one's really going to be able to execute the vision that I have in my head. So I have to find that middle ground. I have to figure out who's going to get me 90% of the way there, who's going to get 95% of the way there that I can rely on. As for the schedule of matches itself, one of the big things was this being an international tournament, we needed to schedule it in such a way where it was minimally inconvenient for everyone. So that's why we started at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, because that meant, for example, Australia and Japan and Korea, that'd be a little early for them. It'd be around, 16 hours ahead, 5 a.m. for the first pools for them. So that's a little bit early, but the second pool and the third pool, which critically on Friday were the pools that Hiro and Ringo were in, those are at fairly convenient times in Japan. Those would be 7:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. on Saturday were the pools that Hiro and Ringo were in. So it's great that we were able to like have Japanese viewers see that. And then, additionally, the COVID, the positive COVID tests on Saturday, we started, I think, about 4 hours late. We were supposed to start at 1. I think we started a little bit before 5. And part of that was I didn't know if we were going to have enough players to run. Very early on Saturday, when everyone was still running around getting COVID tests, I had a talk with Tiza about what's our drop dead. What is the point where we don't have enough people to continue? HD Flood. So by my scheduling, we should have been done by 9:30, 10 on Saturday night Mountain Time. And I mean, starting 4 hours late is rough. Another question was, why did you choose the hotel that you chose, especially with how far away it was from round 1? And the reason for that was, again, the dual planning with that crypto conference. That hotel, while not necessarily ideal, and I think some of the people who stayed there can attest to it was not an ideal situation. One of the very decisive factors in favor of that hotel was the shuttle. While the shuttle was not necessarily used to its full potential and may not have always been super helpful, they were willing to run the shuttle to either location at no additional charge. For reference, for Mistake on the Lake 4, when we were looking at private shuttle service just back and forth from the hotel that was a mile away to round 1, running it every, I think, 3 hours. Fusion, if he's here, can correct me. Running it every 3 hours just on Saturday was going to be like $4,000. That's insane. That's ridiculous. So they were willing to, at no charge, shuttle us back and forth either to the venue where the crypto conference was, or run us to the round 1, which was a 40-minute drive away in the middle of the day. That was huge. Like that was like a pretty significant money savings. Yes, the conference was way closer. Like the conference was close enough that we could have just taken the train. It literally was like taking the train line into downtown, getting on a different train and going one stop away. So yeah, that hotel was not ideally placed for round 1, but it gave me flexibility. It made it so I didn't have to be kind of stringing along 2 different hotels, knowing I wasn't going to go with one and then have to figure out shuttle service as well. So it was a pragmatic decision. It wasn't one that I was super thrilled about. One of the other things that, again, is a thing that I always try to do better. Information was hard to find if you were physically present. In past tournaments, we've had TVs set up, for example, around round 1, so people could see what was happening on the stream. They didn't need to be crowded around the machine. We also would have people dedicated to communicating out to players when their pools were going to be up soon, making sure people knew what their schedules were. That's a lot easier when it's here and I know a lot of people here physically and I know what I can expect from them. But one of the other things that we did was I reimbursed everybody who traveled to Denver specifically to work. If you traveled to Denver specifically to work on the tournament and I did not reimburse you, please contact me because I'm pretty sure I paid everybody back at this point. But everybody who came out specifically to do commentary or to run matches or anything like that, I covered their hotel and I covered their flight. And it's so much easier to tap people for help when it's here, when it's here in Cleveland and I know tons of people around. It's a lot harder when I'm in Denver. Some of the people I've only talked to once or twice. And other than letting some people jump on commentary, one of the things, and it was actually based on a really early conversation I had with Hudson. When I was setting up the room pairings, I asked Hudson if he'd be fine rooming with one of the Japanese players so he could help with translation. And one of the things he said to me, I realized I really needed to respect in this tournament was whenever Hudson goes to a tournament, he doesn't really get the opportunity to just be a player. It's always at a round one, so he needs to deal with management, or he needs to do pad repairs, or it's in Japan for extra exclusive and he needs to help translate all the time. A lot of times players like Hudson that have all these skills and connections don't get the opportunity to just be there and be a player there. And so I wanted to make sure that every single competitor who was there, as much as possible, just got the opportunity to be a player there. And their significant others and their friends that came with them. I wanted them to have the opportunity to just enjoy this. Obviously, jumping on commentary is something that people enjoy and people like doing sometimes. So that's why I was super happy to have Amber jump on commentary. I did feel a little bit bad tapping Poyo and Talkion to jump on for bilingual commentary. I just kind of had to. But at the very least, I am pretty sure for both of their cases, it was after they were done with the tournament, which I felt a little less bad about, I guess. I do want to say thank you to a couple people. Starting off with everybody who worked in the staff or was a sponsor. So, as I said earlier, Luke and Red Note were critical. I mean, if Luke and Red Note have not stepped up, I would have had to cancel the weekend qualifiers ended because that's where I was at that stage. I was not sleeping. I was reaching out to everybody that I could to try to find a way forward to make it work. And I didn't really want to reach out to them. The worst trait about me as a tournament organizer is I hate asking for help, which is a thing that you have to. Like, I can't do everything. I can't be everywhere. But we really were less than 48 hours away from me canceling the whole event. And they saved that and kept me sane and took so many concerns away from me. Second that I would like to thank is all the people who did the behind the scenes work and graphics. Dalton, Blue Chows, and Omar Omneb did all of the graphics. This overlay that you're looking at was by Dalton. The Upbeat logo, the jackets were by Omar. Like, he put all those together. Telpurion, Oliver, all of the cool stuff you saw on the stream, the brackets, the background music, everything in the overlays, everything in the design was Oliver. Oliver spent a good, I think, 4 hours on Wednesday just putting the stream together. And then on Saturday, he was essentially the producer. He was sitting there silently for most of Saturday when he wasn't TOing, just running the stream. And that's amazing. Like, I knew Oliver Telperium was pretty talented, but I did not know he had all the skills that he did. HD Flood, prior to Saturday, one of the commentators was usually also producing, which is not ideal. You've got too many things to focus on in those cases. Stuff gets missed, like labels don't get updated, transitions aren't done exactly when you expect. So having somebody just dedicated to do that really, really improved the quality of the stream. Everybody who did commentary, so Roger Clark, Ajiken, Tiza, Ambones, Talkion, Poyo XX. I'm sure other people jumped on for commentary, but those are the ones that I remember seeing or hearing. Yes, actually, thank you, air conditioning. So all the music that we used in the background, whether it was on an idle screen, whether it's playing right now, whether it is in any of the videos we created, is from Diverse System. Diverse System is as old school as any Bimani people are. They were an old Dojin group that made remixes in Japan. If you've ever heard any of the stuff off of like, Dear Mr. Taku or anything like that, they're the ones that made those songs and those remixes. And many of those artists are the cool new artists that we've seen show up in DDR lately, especially like in Golden League songs, like Yuta Imai. Trying to think who else is, yeah, Dear Mr. Whack, oops. Yuta Imai, Zakla, XAC, Juggernaut. All those people work with Diverse System, and they have a series of albums called the Stream Palette. They have 3 of them out, and I think a 4th is coming later this year, where if you buy the album, you're free to use the music however you want, as long as you credit them. That's all they ask for. So just adding in that music has been so good because it's the right feel, you know, it's the right feeling of Bimani type music without having to worry about actually taking songs that may be heard a million times. Yes, Black Lolita is another one of them. So yeah, strongly encourage everybody to go to Bandcamp, look up Diverse System, and pull up their Stream Palette albums. All of this music came from those albums. So for TOing, Fusion and Telperion, other than helping to set up pools so that they were ready to go when the previous pool ended, they handled everything. And on Saturday, Fusion basically handled the last, I think, 7 hours on his own. And considering the high profile of this, considering that before Mistake in the Lake 4, I think Fusion has mainly assisted me in TOing. I think Mistake in the Lake 4 was the first opportunity that I gave him to be like a lead TO. Things went pretty good. They never go perfect. No tournament ever goes perfect. But I mean, Thursday and Friday, we ended maybe 20 minutes behind schedule. That's nothing. And yeah, Fusion, you can see in pretty much every result screen, you know, even when Nate beat Chris and everyone was screaming and I could hear it from across round 1. Just did his job. Calmly walked up, took a picture just in case, got it ready for the next set. HD Flood, send me a message on Twitter, ranatalus on Twitter, and I will be happy to talk your ear off about it. That actually kind of leads me into something I did want to throw in, and I'll come back to the thanks later. I cannot do this forever, and I cannot be at every tournament. If you're interested in learning how to TO a tournament, if you're interested in learning how to set up streams, if you're interested in learning how to do all of this, ask. I am happy to tell you everything that I have learned. I am happy to tell you what equipment works, what equipment doesn't work. I'm happy to give suggestions on mixers and like headsets and cameras and everything. I'm happy to even give you the submission forms that I give to round one. Like when I tell round one, hey, I want to run a tournament there, I send them a 4 or 5 page document saying, here's the tournament, here's what I'm going to do, here's why I'm going to do it, here's how much money you're going to make letting me do it. And they love it. Like, they're thrilled to see it. Please come to me with questions anytime. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. Don't knock on my door in the middle of the night, please. But if you really have to, I guess, come to me with questions. I'm happy to teach you. Going back to thanking staff, Cygnus, Anne. Cygnus is probably the only person who slept less than I did. From when I woke up Tuesday until I went to bed Sunday, I slept 18 hours. Cygnus was frequently asleep 5 minutes before me and up right when I was, and sometimes up sooner. The one memory that sticks in my head was the intro video for Saturday, the hype up video showing all the people who were still in the tournament and all that like tension. She was working on that at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday. After having been at round one all day Friday, filming and editing, she was still working on it at 3:30 in the morning. And said to me, I've only got about an hour left, but I'm making dumb mistakes. I just need to sleep for a little bit. And she went to sleep, and I went to sleep a few minutes later. She woke up at 7 to her alarm going off, and I'm one of those people that has to come to terms with existing again. I'm not somebody who gets out of bed quick. I'm somebody just going, oh, Jesus Christ, I gotta get up. This sucks. God, I hate this. She looked at her phone, turned off the alarm, got up, and went right back to work. Within 15 seconds of being woken up, she was back to work again. I cannot thank her enough for all the work she did. All of the speech video, she's the one that cut that together. The intro video and the hype up video on day 3 and the closing video that you're going to watch when we're done here, she made all of those starting from when she got there on Tuesday. She even waited at the airport for 2 hours so she could get footage of other players arriving. That's how dedicated she is. And I feel bad, but I'm incredibly lucky that she had gotten laid off. I will turn my Twitter DMs back on in just a moment. I'm incredibly lucky that she got laid off so that she could work here. She could work on this, that she could dedicate all of this time. Everyone who brought in COVID tests and masks on Saturday. I know that there are more than this, but the ones that I specifically remember, I remember Julian, Elaine, I always mess up your last name, J-Boy, Amber, and Fenrir. I remember those 4 bringing them in. Thank you for that. Because of that, we were able to test every player that was still in the tournament. We were able to give tests to a lot of other people that wanted them. We were able to test people who planned to be around. We were able to test all of the staff. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, J-Boy. Chrono did come in with some as well. So if he's here, shout outs to him, but I'm sure he's just relaxing on the beach with a beer. Additionally, the interpreters and translators. So again, Julian again. And also Pooferman, John, who is in here. John essentially spent all week with the Japanese players, brought them around, made sure that they had everything they needed, made sure they were able to communicate with us, when they couldn't quite get something across. Carrie for all of the Korean translation work she did on the website, and then all the emails I had to send out, which sadly didn't end up being too useful since no Korean players were able to make it. Poyo and Chrono for helping to communicate with Fidel while he was there. Yeah, Ringo and Hiro apparently had a blast. They were gushing about the tournament. They were saying that, like, you know, the experience they had here is something they could never have had in Japan. They were saying that, like, the stream looked like professional sports quality, which, okay, yeah. In particular, I think Hiro had said through John something along the lines of, like, Japan could learn a lot from the way you do things, which was just, like, really touching and encouraging. Additionally, Kristen Wingate did a lot of the Japanese. She did all of the Japanese on the website. She wrote most of the emails that I sent out to people. And Caleb Lee occasionally jumped in when I needed something right away and John or Kristen weren't available. So, again, thank you to all of those people. And the last thank you that I have to give out is to Kim. I have basically been no fun since Mistake on the Lake ended. I have been working on this. One of the early days of the tournament, I don't remember who I was talking to. Maybe it was Roger, about how much time I had spent running this tournament, and my estimation was 400 to 500 hours just planning this. And that was from, like, end of October on through days before the cruise. I was still doing things a day or two before the cruise to get this going. And she was incredibly patient. She picked up a lot of slack and did a lot of things that I normally take care of around the house. Took care of Daisy a whole lot more than usually our split works out. And that sort of patience and understanding is why I love her, and it's why I'm with her, and I could not be happier. Yeah, I guess Daisy also, she's upstairs somewhere being lazy and sleepy. So that's really all I had planned. If anybody's got anything else that they want to ask or want to throw out, I can take a couple minutes before I cut to the end. Yeah, actually, that's one more thing I gotta do. Thank you to Jazz and Amber for planning the True Blue cruise, because I wouldn't have survived this without that. I would not have had the mental and emotional energy without those several days of relaxing. Amber, my favorite tournament moment. I've got a few that come to mind. The first one that comes to mind actually is the dual ties between MDX and Hiro on Prey. That was ridiculous. Like, that they tied it twice. It's insane. The upbeat name, Josh. So that was something that me and Roger and Omar spent probably 2 weeks talking about, where do we want to go with this? Like, how do we want to name this? Do we want to lean into, like, the mountain, like the mountain iconography and the concepts for that? Did we want to get away from, like, the Japanese style of things? Because extra exclusive, I remember Roger bringing up a great point, like, extra exclusive is a name that an English speaker wouldn't come up with. Like, that doesn't make any sense in English. But upbeat did. I mean, it was, you know, it's an exciting event. It's at an elevation. It's about music. Like, it was a really good combination of things. And I remember when we first suggested it, we were like, that one's fine, but, like, we'll come back to it. But everything else just, like, didn't quite seem to hit the same, you know? So we just kept coming back to it, and then started working on the design. And I think once we got the design that it's currently on, we were like, yeah, that's great. We're going to go with that. I saw one question I did want to answer. Let's scroll back up in chat a little bit. Agent A, do you think the upbeat format will be a common or usable format for other tournaments in general? Not really. So this tournament definitely lended itself toward the top of the top of the top. It was very time intensive. I mean, it took me 3 days to get through 48 players. That's not ideal for typical tournaments, but for a showcase of the elite players, I think this format went great. Like, I am very happy with how it turned out, actually. Spug, will it be a recurring tournament or one-off? I answered this earlier, but the short answer is very unlikely it will be done again, unless you or somebody else has got money burning a hole in their pocket. I see Carrie and John posting things I can't read. I've thought about upbeat merchandise, Amber, and I kind of like it staying ultra exclusive, you know, extra exclusive. So, I mean, the players are going to get their jackets. I'm working on getting staff jackets now as well, and that might be it. I don't think I'm going to do any other stuff. Flood, you asked, how did I come up with this format? So early Konami Arcade Championships kind of did this format where everybody would have, you know, a song that they picked, and that, you know, and then they would get rankings based on it. And I thought that that would be a good way to do it so that it wasn't just card draw. It wasn't just, you know, the dance card format for Mistake in the Lake. But I also needed to be on a tight time schedule. Because when I was expecting to be at the crypto conference, I had a very tight time schedule. So I needed to create a format where I knew what the worst case scenario was going to be for time. So that was kind of where I started from. And once I realized, oh, well, you know, I've got these songs, but like, if everybody picks a song and they don't have to play it, that could still take forever. You know, some people are really, really slow and indecisive. And that's when I thought about the timer. And realizing like that adds a little extra element of pressure onto the player. You know, being able to look over at a clock and see like, crap, I have 4 songs left in 15 minutes. Like, I don't really got a lot of time to mess around. For what it's worth, I tested the format at home before publishing it. I played the entire set in a mask, and I even actually have the set that I randomed for myself here. I had forgotten about it. So when I tested this format, I just randomly picked 3 songs for a warm-up, and then also 8 songs in the same difficulty range to play. And no warm-up, just played them. The warm-up songs that I got were Idola Challenge, Shout It Out, and Horatio Expert, which is an awful warm-up set. And then after that, I had to play AI, Common Break, Silver Dream, Horatio Challenge, Avenger Expert, Paranoid Survivor Max Expert, Glitch Angel, and Max 300X Special. So like, I had no warm-up. Throughout the course of planning this, I haven't really played much DDR, so I like wasn't really like in the best shape. So that felt good. I mean, it didn't feel good. It felt terrible actually to play, but the fact that I was able to get through it, and I got through it in 37 minutes. So that told me like, okay, if I'm able to like struggle through this. No, Pat, thankfully no 18s. Holy crap. That would have been awful. But if I was able to struggle through it, then and then I figured it would be good for players who have been practicing and working their butts off for this. Josh, I saw your question earlier about is there plans to repackage this and get it in front of Konami? I'm going to try to give Anne a little bit of a break. But yes, I do plan on collecting some of the best footage from this and trying to shop it around to sponsors, sending it off to Konami USA and Konami of Japan. Maybe something comes of that, maybe not. You'll hear if it does. Don't expect to hear anything about it in the middle, because as people have figured out with my Mistake in the Lake 4 announcements and with the information around Upbeat, I don't like to announce things unless I'm very sure of them. So, if things come of it, great. If not, I tried. Yeah, Dave, you can go ahead and do Degris every day February if you want. That sounds fine. I'm not doing that. Tokyo Eric, when will we be doing another tournament at Round 1 Menor? Almost certainly later this year. I'll probably try to move it a little bit earlier than I had it this past year. I don't want to have it in November again, and I don't think anybody else wants it in Cleveland in November again. But it's probably going to happen. Give me a month or so to not think about dance game tournaments. Good to know. Thanks, Skeeter. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do if Mistake in the Lake keeps getting bigger. It's kind of getting out of hand. All right. Anybody got anything else? I did see like 4 questions pop up at once, and now my mouse is not cooperating. Come on, mouse. There we go. Amy, is there a place or resource people getting into DDR usually get pointed to? It's a good question, actually. I don't know what the best resource is for starting out players who have like just played on the home version and are just getting into tournaments. Discords are usually the best. I would recommend you join the Ohio DDR Discord, even if you're not from Ohio. We have quite a few people who are not from Ohio, a couple people that aren't from the US in there. It's a really good resource for new players. Additionally, the Life 4 Discord. Life 4 is like a outside of the game achievement system built by Ben Madsen out of Kentucky. He's one of another old school player who's still around, and it specifically is designed to teach you how to get better and slowly push you towards getting better. Pink Luminade, would I consider running a women's division? I did think about that, and it was just going to be so much extra overhead that I decided against it. I do like running women and non-binary and divisions, and finding other ways to feature non-male players. It can't happen all the time, but that might be something that I look at for Mistake on the Lake 5. Thank you, Kiko, for telling me that I'm cool and that everybody's happy. Scrolling back through. Yes, that's another good resource. Black Flag Academy, which I think... I don't know the best way to find resources on that, Carrie. If you can put it in the chat somewhere, that'd be great. But Black Flag Academy is specifically geared towards newer players, lower skill level players, so that you don't feel overwhelmed by the elite players, kind of talking about, like, oh, my score is trash and it's, like 10 perfects and a grade on an 18. Like, that can be very discouraging for low level players. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Twitter at Black Flag Academy. Yes, Chris is going to get his jacket fixed. I'm going to send out an email early this week or early next week when I also order the staff jackets. Agent attorney, how was my first TO experience compared to this one? When did I first? I think the first tournament I ran would have been around 2004, 2005. And it's really hard to look back on and even like remember what that tournament was like. I really don't remember it, but I remember it being much simpler. It would have been on DDR Extreme, and back in those days, like it was just pick random. No, Kim, that wasn't my first tournament. That was like my third tournament. But no, those early days, tournaments were very different. They were much more casual. There was certainly no streaming. Yeah, pick random is something that could not really work. There's too much going on now. Too many songs. Jazz, would I consider doing freestyle? I kind of wanted to work that in at Mistaken the Lake 4 with the Dance Rush side event. I've also thought about bringing back fun joke tournaments. I have a note on my phone anytime I come up with goofy ideas that would be fun but can't really be done in a serious way. So like I would like to do stuff like that more, but there's just so many people that want to like compete, you know, that it's really hard to work these things in. Have I considered banning Degris? I wish I could in good conscience ban it. I don't know how I feel about curated song lists for tournaments. I see the appeal to it, but I also know that it's just another thing that everyone that people are gonna be annoyed with. People who who want to pick something really off the board, something kind of unusual or strange, like I don't know, electronic or treat, like Amber picked. Like those are really weird off the board songs that nobody thinks about and nobody picks and nobody plays, which make them surprises in tournaments. But yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah. Did I consider banning 19s? No. I definitely wasn't going to ban 19s. I didn't want them to come up in pools because it's just like, it's just basically a do you play 19s or not check. That's really all it would have been in pools. But having it come up with limited frequency in the top 8, I feel like was good. And I feel like they came up right around as frequently as I wanted them to. I think they came up like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, that's actually wild to me that there's just 100 people here listening to me talk. But I'm happy to talk because I wasn't on commentary the entire week. So I've got plenty of voice left. Yeah, only 119 ended up being played, but I think a few more came up in the card draw and just didn't. I don't know. I liked Hudson's strategy on Max 360 where he just kind of, BS'd his way through until he thought Squid was going to give up, and then he suddenly started trying as hard as he could. All right. So, again, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for watching the tournament. We had 900 viewers. That's That was ridiculous. Like, I think our previous best was just over 500. 900 was unfathomable. And everybody promoting it on their Twitter, everybody having friends and family and loved ones that don't even play the game tuning in was amazing. It was just ridiculous. Oh, Ajikin says, including YouTube and Twitch, it was 925, which, yeah, and yeah, that number was at 2 a.m. Mountain Time, so 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Camsta, I'll definitely try to find various statistics on it and post them so that people can kind of look through and see what was going on. But yeah, thank you so much for encouraging me in my absolutely insane ideas like this. I'm really glad that we got to see some of the best players playing at their best. I don't really have much else to say, but please enjoy the credits video. We had this ready to go at the end of the tournament. And again, it is just a testament to how prepared Cygnus was. She was even going to be including some of the footage that was taken after the tournament ended. She had a spot saved for it in the video, which you'll see there. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can. And I'll see you at the next one.